can athletic person or somebody who is into sports have their like normal life and live with good financial condition? Because when somebody gets into athletic
Yeah.
life, it's very hard to maintain the financials and balance the roles, and no support.
Yeah.
Many people give up.
Definitely, it's definitely possible to have athletic life and balanced life, without spending a lot of money on sports, etc., because being athletic is one thing, having a good lifestyle,
Mm,
it doesn't mean that you have to quit your job, you dedicate 5 hours a day to training, etc., etc.
mm,
No,
mm,
you can
mm,
have an athletic lifestyle, if I have a demanding job, you can start by 3 times a week,
mm,
training 3 times a week.
mm.
And you only start to get into financial investments after you see potential or you have enough money to spend away. I'll not recommend anybody who is barely making ends meet or has like a lot, most of his salary goes to a loan, let's say, who's like someone who's just working, like has like a typical 500 to 600 BD salary, let's say, and has a loan, and he
Mm.
has also has family to support to like travel to compete. I will not tell him. I'll not recommend
Yeah,
anyone to do that. It's a big
yeah,
financial commitment.
yeah.
Because for some people, spending 200 dinar to compete in Abu Dhabi
Mm.
is okay. But if you're barely making ends meet, like I actually advise against this. You don't want to go shortcoming in your family life and your family, like giving your family the support they need because you want for sake of you competing
Right.
until it becomes the time that okay, you might look at it as a job, you might be getting paid for it, you might be getting sponsors, but having athletic life and a good life, good lifestyle, doesn't mean you have to quit your job, doesn't mean you have
Mm.
to invest ridiculous amounts, like anything in the beginning, like even let's say for example, I'm not into forex exchange, let's say.
Yeah.
I have some friends who do it, but if I started today in forex exchange, I will not start with like 50% of my savings, in one go. I will
Mm-hmm.
start like bit by bit, until I see myself capable,
Yeah.
Same thing, like you start investing in your jiu-jitsu when you either reach the point where you can afford to invest in this, or you're seeing a financial return actually, like
Mm.
you're having demand on private classes, you're teaching seminars, you're getting like pay, like for example some competitions for the national team, not all of them but some of the main competitions, like people who get medals and get rewarded for it, financially,
Mm.
so it can pay off as well. But what I recommend people to do is like find a sport, like even if it's not jiu-jitsu martial arts,
Yeah.
find a sport, try at least 3 times a week, get a good sweat, like 1 hour a day for 3 times a week, we did this beginner's course now in our gym,
Mm-hmm.
and the beginner's course that we did it is like this same idea, 3 hours a week. It's 10-week course. I'm only asking you to commit 3 hours per week,
Mm-hmm.
because people who usually, I'll tell you what happened in my experience, like teaching some people. The people who start really strong training every day of the week, some of them continue for sure,
Yeah.
but most of them end up burning themselves out in the first month, you know. And like the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said,
So,
"أحب الأعمال إلى الله أدومها وإن قل." The most loved works for like most I want
beloved.
most beloved like acts for
Mm.
to Allah are the most consistent, even if it's like in less frequency,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not someone like I say this, subhanallah, this hadith applies to everything, and no
Yes.
matter what you do,
Yeah.
you know even if you read Quran, oh, today I will read, like some people, in Ramadan, first week of Ramadan, maybe is very motivated, I'll read 3 4 juz' per a day, and then it's too much for him, and then he doesn't go back to one juz'. He's
Mm.
like, he just stops,
Yeah. Yeah.
Same thing in grappling. In my experience as a coach, I've seen this people who say, I must train every day. I want to become a fighter. I want to become a competitor, blah, blah, blah. And if you love it and you're finding passion and it's convenient for you, it's not interrupting your daily life in very inconvenient manner,
Mm, 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 mm.
by all means, go ahead. But some people, no, it's inconvenient, but they still push themselves to do
Mm.
it. And after 1 month, they
Yeah.
had enough. Like we made this beginners, since we made it 3 times a week, people are actually committing not to miss these 3 days a week.
Mm,
When it's
mm.
every day, some people come today, they miss tomorrow. Oh, I can't go tomorrow, I can go after. But now people know I have 3 days a week. This is like, almost
Yeah.
sacred. They follow this timing. So, and we see results because they're consistent. Nobody's missing classes.
Mm-hmm.
So we see consistency. It's easier for us to develop the
Mm-hmm.
athletes. So I say 3 hours, like 3 hours per week. If you can find that, like 3 days a week, do something that
Mm.
gets a good sweat going on. I will always recommend martial arts, because
Yeah.
I know I'm biased, but for me, I'm a firm believer that like the man
Mm.
is a provider, should be his job is to provide.
Yeah.
His job is also should be to protect.
Mm.
He should know some self-defense skills. A grown man should be like, I'm not saying everybody in the street should be a jiu-jitsu black belt. I'm not
Yeah.
asking
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
but
At
I'm
least to
saying,
defend themselves.
yeah, at least to
Do you
like
think in
protect.
Bahrain we need self-defense?
Like, to be honest, alhamdulillah, we live in a country like
We are in a
very
place
peaceful,
peaceful.
very,
Yeah.
it doesn't get much more peaceful than
Yes.
Bahrain,
Except when you
alhamdulillah.
travel. Yeah. Maybe.
Exactly, but
Yeah.
sometimes you travel, but like, I don't know who said this, like whose quote is it? It's like, it's better to be a warrior in a garden
Yeah.
than a gardener in a war,
Yeah.
like in a war zone. So like,
No point in that. Yeah. It's
it's
better
better
to.
to have it and not need it than to need it and not
Mm.
have, because it all takes is one situation.
Yeah.
Subhanallah, like one situation can make you wish like you've been
Yes.
training like Brock Lesnar, like
Mm-hmm. But I think since I am also recently got into it, there is so much, which has changed me to become more humble. Thing is that it's not about like when you get into sports or any martial arts,
yeah,
you become aggressive. This is what people think. Like
yeah,
if
yeah.
you get into some martial arts, you become aggressive, you become a difficult person or hard to handle. But in fact, the perspective is different. The perception which I had before and now it's completely
Very,
different.
it's opposite, like it's opposite. It makes you actually much more passive. Like, let me tell you this, like even from my personal feelings, my personal emotions that I've been going through from like high school up to now after training martial arts for many years, is before, like I would get into fights in school.
Mm.
And sometimes if someone does something to me, even if that's not a big deal, I would get into a fight because of peer pressure.
Yeah, yeah.
This is what people don't like most of fights in school because peer pressure. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
like you didn't react, you're scared, like
Yeah,
you're
you're a
not,
loser.
you're scared that guy's gonna whip,
Mm.
kick your butt or something.
Yeah.
But now, alhamdulillah, because I'm that confident, and even the people around me
Yeah.
know if I don't react, I just don't have time. Like I don't think this
You
is a
want to.
good idea.
Mm.
Even for me, like fighting against somebody, like just for sake of fighting or proving it doesn't end well for anybody, in my opinion. Because
Yeah.
even if I smash the guy, I might go to court, I might injure my hand, even if I don't go to court, I'll go to the police station and then it's a hassle, then I
A lot of
lost
work. Yeah.
lots of work, it's not, and against someone who's like not challenging. Like if you're into any sport, like you don't like to, like as a higher level you get, you don't want to like test yourself against lower level people, you don't see Cristiano Ronaldo being challenged by someone
On the streets.
on the
Yeah.
street. Oh, you're like, I'm a better footballer than, okay, by all means, you're
Okay.
better footballer. You're not, like,
doesn't
you
want
know,
to prove, yeah.
you don't need to prove
Yes.
against that level. We prove ourselves in the gym against trained athletes,
Yeah,
trained strong athletes that know what they're. This is how we feel like the adrenaline, not because some guy in the street looked at me in a funny way or a strange way, like, oh, like for me,
Doesn't make
for
sense,
me,
yeah.
it doesn't make sense anymore. Like when we were younger, we'd get in fight over these silly little things. Just
Is it because we realize the power of ourselves, the arrogance which is there, or ego, which we call, we are able to catch that? Because I have
Like-
noticed myself
yeah,
catching myself, into that level. Like the way he catch me, I got some ego, immediately I'm like,
Like,
this
wow.
is not me.
It's crazy. It's crazy because like some people think they are fighters, like because man, we are men. We have a lot of pride, testosterone, etc. So we all like to think we know how to defend ourselves. We are good fighters, or maybe if we beat our friend up in high school, we think we are a tough guy. We know what we're
You had
doing.
any experience locally, recently
No,
anywhere?
no, alhamdulillah. Like
So far, nothing happened,
like
But in real life, how is it applying for you? How do you feel when you are talking to anybody?
no, I feel confident. Alhamdulillah, I feel
Yeah,
confident. I don't take it also a reason to be proud, like very proud,
yeah.
because in the gym I was once a white belt and I was humbled. So I
Mm,
know what feeling it's like, like, but thankfully these guys, the more higher you get, you become more humble.
yeah.
Because everybody has been in, all of the higher guys
Situation,
have
yeah.
been in the same situation. Like,
Yes.
imagine if the higher belt was a bully and like would like. To be honest, I trash talk a lot with my students. Some of my students, like they also call me like a bully, but like it's a playful manner. But like generally, like someone like trying to bully, like show, like demonstrate like strength like in an aggressive way. Like it wouldn't be fun. Like being beat up by someone who's much more skillful than you, and you cannot do nothing about it, and he's still like, and he's taking that advantage. Like we've like for me, like when I think, okay, the guys that were smashing me, they were very nice to me afterwards. Like imagine if that guy who was tapping me, like catching me in submissions 3-4 times in one round, was also being arrogant after training or was calling me names, and I probably couldn't do something about it.
Yeah.
Even if I wanted to do something, he would still beat me up. So I always imagine that situation. Like imagine that guy, like you were once a white belt, and that higher belt was beating you up, but he was still nice to you. He was still helpful. He was still you liked being around him. Like imagine if that wasn't the case. So that's what I always I have in mind. Like, and I think a lot of guys have that subconscious, like in their subconscious mind. Whether they think of it in this way or not, because it wouldn't be fun, as a white belt, blue belt, being beat up by a bully brown black belt, and like who would try to mock you in a way or belittle you.